Hey Laura, we had Shay in here obviously a second ago, talking a little bit about how this group, acknowledged what they needed to acknowledge and did what they needed to say after that loss. Just what have you liked from, the few days since, from your groups, in the few days since that loss?
Yeah, exactly that, to be honest, that they take accountability, that they want to solve issues and problems that they think arose, and try and make sure that they don't, come back again. Um, and I think that as a coach, that's all you can ask for, really, is growth is the key sort of mindset, is how can we be better than we were the day before? And it's fine if I believe it, but if they don't believe it, it doesn't really matter. And yeah, we had a team meeting the day after the game. They also had play meetings on their own. So all those things, I just love it. I think it just shows the group that we have that they're willing to invest in each other and invest in themselves to be better.
To use one of your words, I imagine their mentality's been pretty good through this. Just, I mean, because, truthfully, like you referenced the Angel City match and how it's something that they were able to come back from and work back from. So
Yeah.
quick little add on. I'm sure you've seen that mentality sort of show up again after this match.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing about it after the Angel City game is we had the FIFA break, so there was like a longer period where we had to like talk about it and solve it before we were able to get out and put a game on the field again. Whereas this time it's a very short turnaround, no training really, straight on a plane out to Louisville, and you've got to put it right on the field without the training aspect. But I think, getting in those rooms and talking about it is the way that you can potentially put some solves to it if you don't have time to train.
And just shortly to build off that as well, I know the last few weeks I've continued to ask you about, this stretch of games where you've got four at home and that five-match stretch. Now this is very different from that. Can I ask Shay about it? And she mentioned how this is something that maybe prepares you guys for the stretch of three matches, road matches in a row a little bit later. I guess, is it nice to know that this is something you're going to have to deal with? And you know the schedule, you know how it goes, but just to sort of get ready for what you're going to have to face. I know you don't like not having more trainings available, but is it nice to maybe see what you're going to get later on with this sort of odd schedule change?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, this is the longest journey of the four that we have. Um, so, yeah, it's the longest journey and the shortest turnaround, I believe. So, I think that plays into it of like, how do we respond without training time? Can we look more, at it maybe than we did against Houston?
Thanks, Charles. And then we'll go over to Steve.
Hi, Laura. Racing's won their last two games, had a big win over Gotham last week. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what you think has been clicking for them and what you guys need to do to kind of disrupt that momentum.
Yeah, they've high pressed everybody. They've chased everything down. Um, they've shown quality in moments they've needed it. Last week's goal against Gotham was a quality moment. So I think they just seem to be in a confident mood, and maybe going against a little bit of their identity that they'd had previously. I think they were a little bit more direct than they've been in previous years. Definitely high press you. So you've got to be prepared for all those things.
And I don't know if you've looked ahead at the forecast for tomorrow. The weather's looking a little dicey at kickoff. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how you prepare your team for kind of uncertainty about, whether or not a game is going to kick off on time or where there might be pauses in the middle of it due to weather and other circumstances.
Yeah, it's challenging. There's not too much you can do outside of prepare food wise, hydration wise, all those things. Have them available. We fly back after the game, so everything that we bring with us will be at the stadium, so that might help. But we're made to go to the stadium no matter what. So once you get to the stadium, a lot of things are taken out of your control a little bit. So it's how best we can have food prepared if we have a delay and all those types of things. I wasn't at the Louisville trip last year, but it actually happened last year in Louisville too. So we're pretty used to it. You just have to be adaptable and prepared for anything, really.
Thanks. And one more from me. Last week, Cassie Miller was added to the injury report. I wonder if you have any updates on her status or any of the other injured players that are kind of working their way back.
Yeah, Cassie's is going to be a bit longer term, unfortunately. Probably won't see her until the summer now, after the summer. Yeah, just picked up something in training. And Jess and Coco could have travelled with the short turnaround. We didn't think it was the best option to bring them on this trip, with it being such a long trip and an in and out trip where we don't have a ton of training time for it to be their first minutes back. So they'll be available next week against Washington.
Thank you.